Hello everybody, hopefully everybody can hear me alright. This is my first video podcast. I am doing, trying something new. I finally have some video equipment that I can use for my projects and for my podcast and stuff. So I thought I'd try it out this week and give you guys a video podcast of myself. I kind of gave you some more reflections on this week and how projects are going and my thoughts on the readings and stuff. And so I am. I'll be honest. This quarter has been kind of crazy. I have been getting used to the workflow with managing multiple projects at once, and it's been a little difficult. But I'm surviving, and I know all of you are experiencing a similar thing with all the stuff you got going on, and it's just kind of stressful, and so I was really impressed by all the ideas thrown around in class this week about the projects, and I know for my project I want to do a for the there's a couple of projects coming up in our class. We have the individual narrative digital narrative project, and I want to work on getting some stories together, video stories taken of me talking to my mom about kind of interviewing my mom and getting a story or two about my grandmother and grandfather when they came to this country and as immigrants from Romania and settled in this region around. They had a farm over. At first, they had a farm over in kind of central Washington around Colotis, but they also, after that farm burnt down, they actually had to relocate to this area over in what they called the Espanola area. It's actually right outside of Medical Lake, and there's a whole collection of farms over there. They called it Espanola because they didn't know how to pronounce it. It was a mispronunciation of Espanola, but I don't know why they called it that, but I'm not sure what the backstory is on that, but that area has a whole collection of farmland out there, and there's all different types of farms, cattle ranches, wheat farms, other different crops, and my grandparents had a farm out there, and I know my uncle actually still farms out there, and he actually owns that farm now, and so I'm going to have my mom tell some stories from about my grandparents and kind of about their lives and about how they came to this country and settled in this area and kind of made a life for themselves as immigrants. Um, so that's going to be the first part of my that's going to be my digital narrative project. And for my class project, for the my individual project for our class project, my individual contribution, I want to kind of highlight how Eastern doesn't how Eastern fails to do a good job of basically do a good enough job of pushing career services to students. A lot of students don't even know they exist until maybe later on in their college careers, or even they don't even know they're there. And it's just, we do a horrible job of promoting them. We don't give them enough budget, and career services is something that every student should know about. And because they're the one piece in the college that can help students find jobs. And a lot of students go to college because they want to find jobs. And a lot of students, when they graduate, cannot find jobs right away, if at all. And they end up going into disciplines that they don't intend on going into, like fast food and you name it, retail, and other areas that they did not go to school for. And if they can find decent jobs. And it's just a tragedy. And I think we need to do a better job of preparing our graduates for internships and other areas that our colleges have been failing at. And Eastern's not alone in this, but Eastern does a really poor job of marketing career services to their students and getting the word out. And part of it lies on I'm not sure where along the way. I don't know if faculty need to be more pushing it more, and I think a lot of it does lie on faculty, but programs need to be pushing it more, and advisors need to be pushing it more. We focus a lot on the academics, but we also need to focus on career prep. And every student needs a career advisor. It should be mandatory. So, anyway, I'll go into that more in the project, but that's going to be my project for this contribution, and I will so I'm going to be doing some research on all of that, and getting some stories together for that. So for the readings this week, I know chapter 6 has been probably the most influential to me, because I actually was able to bolster my my initial my first assignment with it. I know I had a project on my on my first assignment for this class, dealing with and the analyzing a narrative. It was in analyzing the pudding .cool, which is a website that does puts out a lot of a visual, like web text, or like I'm trying to figure out the words to describe it. HTTPS. Let's see. I'll link to this in my description. Pudding. Let me search for this really quick. Pudding. Oh, well, no, it's pudding.cool. .cool. COOL. Pudding.cool is the website. And they are a quote from their website. They are a digital publication that explains ideas, debate, and culture with visual essays. But what they do is they take data analysis and combine it with visual essays and visual data presentation. So they combine narrative and database and using visual programming and visual rhetoric. And one thing I will note, in contrary to chapter 6, that seems to take the stance that narrative and database are two separate entities. Pudding.cool's approach is actually combines the two, and it's pretty cool because narrative and database are one to them. They are interreliant and are symbiotic, and they are, as chapter 6 points out, in How We Think, Digital Media and Contemporary Technogenesis, and Catherine Hales. This is the book that I'm referring to, and just in case you're stumbling upon this on YouTube. And I'm doing these podcasts for my a digital humanities class that I'm taking at my university, and these podcasts are basically a continuation of an audio podcast that I started earlier this quarter. And so I've done about 3 or 4 of them so far, and I've done some blog posts as well about it, really reflecting projects I'm doing in my class and other things. So just to give you a backstory of what's going on here, just in case you're confused. But I should have done that at the beginning. I'm sorry. But the anyway, so the chapter I'm talking about is her narrative and database, spatial history and the limits of symbiosis, and she's basically making the claim that narrative and database are symbiotic, and that they rely upon each other and feed off of each other in modern digital media to coexist, but they and be effective in digital rhetoric, but in digital humanities, but they don't. But there's limits to that symbiosis. Well, Pudding.cool is actually pushing those boundaries, and it's pretty cool how they do it. So I recommend checking out their website, and I'll link to this in the video description, because I won't be. Well, I might post this video on my blog as well, just in case you're following that. I'll try to get my audio podcast posted to my blog as well. So, anyway, I will. I'm going to conclude this video podcast by thanking you for joining me, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen to my long droning thoughts. I know it's kind of late at night and I'm kind of running out of steam, but I do appreciate you tuning in, and hopefully I wasn't too boring, and have a great day, or have a great night, I should say. See ya!